पैसा रात लेंगे पूरा 6 बजे। चलो बाहर जाते हैं।
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is not Anthony Gonzalez, it is Faisali. So in 2021, I had 34th rank in the Maharashtra Law CET. And also I had cracked Indian Law School twice. So our today's lecture is regarding introduction of CLAT. CLAT. CLAT is the law entrance exam for UG undergraduation courses. Today we will see what all the things you have to study for this exam. Things you have to study and the focus areas. The previous lecture was on reasoning. So we will focus on the general knowledge part. So the paper is generally divided into 4 or 5 parts. There are 150 questions. And they are divided into English language. English language, then current affairs and general knowledge. Current affairs and general knowledge. Next is legal reasoning. Logically, this is a law exam. So you should have the know-how about this. And for developing a good legal reasoning, you should have a good knowledge about English language. Because law is nothing but playing with the words. So you should have a command over the English language. For example, many cases go to the Supreme Court regarding interpretation of words. Next is logical reasoning. And next is quantitative aptitude. Quantitative techniques. First of all, CLAT exam has 2 modes. Whenever you give law exams, there are basically 2 modes. After 12th and after completing graduation. After graduation. After 12th course is of 5 years and after graduation course is for 3 years. So there is a little slight difference in the quality of questions and the level of difficulty. But CLAT is one of a good level exams. CLAT is a little bit difficult as it is conducted by the central government. Now let us see what type of questions have been asked. Usually, the English language paper, English language, English language paper contains some different types of questions. There is paragraph, and you have to answer the questions. Answer the questions based on that paragraph. You have to answer the questions based on this paragraph. Next is, this is also called as reading comprehension. In such type of exams, you have to get a, they, they ask the question about understanding what you have comprehended from that passage. It is about interpretation of that passage. It has certain types of questions like object, uh, what is the message, what will be the appropriate title, and inference that you could draw, or most logical arguments that can be agreed, most logical argument. So as you can see, in giving a law exam, you should have a good command over the English language. For this, you should have a good habit of reading books. Reading books and newspapers. Now, when the question may arise, what type of newspapers should be read? The type of the newspaper that should be read are Indian Express, or Indian Express or the Hindu. I know these are a little bit of difficult to understand for the students, but these these papers develop your vocabulary, your understanding, and usually in the 2023 paper, the first passage in the current affair part is taken from the Hindu. And in any of the exams conducted, you can see articles that have been taken from these two newspapers, majorly the Hindu. Also, these are the national newspapers, national level. If it would have been a regional level exam, then I would have recommended you to read the regional newspapers. In the English language, now we have discussed about it. Next is current affairs and general knowledge. As I have already taught, as I have already said, Indian Express and the Hindu. If you read these newspapers, you get two benefits. We can call it three. Three benefits. First is you develop your vocabulary, and you cover current affairs. Current affairs does not mean each and everything under the sun. Current affairs does not mean each and everything under the sun. Current affairs are those that are relevant to the exam and have a major impact on India or within India, like international issues. Current affairs is a little bit of broad topic, but it is not everything and each and everything under the sun. Vocabulary is there. Next is, as I've already said, the questions that have been asked are based on inference type, most logical assertion type. So you develop logic out of reading newspapers. Next is general current affairs and general, including general knowledge. For example, the recently conducted election. Our president right now is President Murmu, Draupadi Murmu, Draupadi Murmu, President Draupadi Murmu. She is from tribal background, Santhal tribe. Santhal tribe, and this name has very important event regarding the history of India. Before the 1857 revolt, there was this Santhal Hul. Santhal Hul, also called as Santhal Rebellion. Two figures, Sidhu and Kanu Sanyal. Sidhu and Kanu Sanyal. They fought the British Empire. Similarly, the question asked regarding to this was, who was the first female president of India? And if you can recall, the first female president of India was from Maharashtra, Pratibha Tai Patil. Similarly, expanding on this, the question was asked was regarding her tenure, 2007 to 2012. First female president. Pratibha Tai Patil. Pratibha Patil, 2007 to 2012. Similarly, the same similarly, the first and only female prime minister. The first and only female prime minister of India. The first and only female prime minister of India, Indira Gandhi. Similarly, President Ramnath Kovind, the previous president, former president. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? This word signify? If you have not read about, if you don't have an habit of reading, so some people might think that form means something related to structure and all, but the former means previous, president. Former president of former president was President Ramnath Kovind. Kovind. Similarly, a question had been asked regarding the first Dalit president of India. The first Dalit president of India was K. R. Narayanan. First president of India. First Dalit president of India. K. R. Narayanan. Similarly, Rashtrapati Bhavan, also known as Raisina Hill. This is a place in the New Delhi, Lutyens, Delhi. Delhi was designed by an architect named as Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker. So, the present Rashtrapati Bhavan is designed by that Mr. Lutyens. Similarly, the question had been asked about what was the place where the viceroys resided called. So, that was called as not that was not Raisina Place. Raisina Palace is the where the Raisina Palace is where the Rashtrapati Bhavan is situated. Another question that was asked was who was the candidate for vice president in 2022? Candidate. The current vice president is Jagdeep Dhankar. Jagdeep Dhankar. The question that was asked was who was the candidate, but this was not the option given there. If this would have been an option, everyone would have ticked, and this question would have become relatively very easy. The options that were given was M. Venkaiah Naidu. M. Venkaiah Naidu was the vice president before Mr. Dhankar. And Yashwant Sinha was also in the news during this time. The options given were R. Venkatraman, Yashwant Sinha, Margaret Alva, M. Venkaiah Naidu. The option was candidate Margaret Alva. Opposition candidate. Opposition candidate. Another question that was asked was voting in an Indian presidential election. If you recall, or if you have read somewhere, president is the first citizen of India. President is the first citizen of the country. Also, he is the supreme commander of armed forces. Armed forces. Armed forces does not mean only the army. Armed forces means army, navy, and air force. So the question that was asked regarding the president is how the election of president is conducted. If you've read somewhere, there are two system of elections in India. Basically two. First is first past the post. First past the post. In this system of election, one seat has to be elected. This Mr. and two people are contesting the election. Suppose there might be more than two or five or six, any number can be there. But the seat, kurchi ek hi, there is only one seat. There is only one seat, one chair. So, okay, let us make it a little more realistic. Four people are contesting for the post of the president or contesting for a seat. So, in the elections of MP and MLAs, system of first past the post is prevalent. In this system, suppose Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, and Mr. D. If Mr. A has secured 1000 votes and Mr. B has secured 200 votes, Mr. C has secured 900 votes, Mr. D has secured 1001 1050 votes. So the logic is very simple in this part. The one who gets the most of the votes is being declared as elected. This is a very simple winner. Now, this system is prevalent during the general elections. These elections are also called as general elections. Elections. These are of two types. General elections to the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. State legislative assemblies. Now, MPs of this is the right term MLA, but MP is a little misnomer. MPs of Lok Sabha. Parliament consists of three parts. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and Mr. President. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the President. Lok Sabha has maximum 552 seats. Rajya Sabha has 250 seats maximum. And here there are two kinds of ways to fill the seats. First is election, and second is
Nomination.
nomination. Can anyone tell me what is the number of elected seats and nominated seats?
Nominated 12 members.
Nominated 12 members. Very good. And elected 238. There is one more very interesting thing about the Rajya Sabha. The maximum tenure of a member of the Rajya Sabha is 6 years. Tenure. And one third members retire after every second year, after every 2 years. Similarly, the normal term of the Lok Sabha is, here I am using the term normal term, is 5 years. But this can be extended during some special circumstances, such as national emergency. I know these words might sound very distracting, but as we proceed with the topic, you will find all this very easy. Now, there must be a doubt in your minds that president does not sit in the parliament. So why is he a part of the parliament? Can anyone tell me why president is a part of the parliament? Okay, no response. So
No, sir.
no response. President is a part of the parliament because after the bill has been passed by these two houses, we will go into the process after a few lectures. Whenever a bill has been passed by these houses, it comes to the president to get his sign. It is called as assent of the president. So let us revise very quickly what all we have done today. First of all, we started with the paper pattern, and basically the first thing I did was my introduction. Next is the type of exam that CLAT is, number of questions, the sections that have been there in the paper, the areas which you have to focus. Now, I would like to give a little importance. Once again, I would like to focus on this part. Read newspapers. Only if you read newspapers, then your vocabulary will also develop. You will get to know what is going on in the world. You will start questioning. You will start understanding what all there is to the syllabus, and facts and vocabulary and message, inference, logical arguments. To understand all this, there is a need to read discursive process. Discursive process means very different types of topics. Next, we've seen the benefits of reading newspapers daily, and the newspapers. Acha, to be give one more information, the Hindu is also a part of modern history. Then we discussed about the PYQs. The current president is Miss Draupadi Murmu. She is from the Santhal tribe. Then we have seen that Santhalhul or Santhal rebellion that happened in 1856 before the revolt of 1857. And then we saw the first female president, Miss Pratibha Tai Patil. Then the first and only Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Next, former president. Then made you. Then I've taught you the word meaning of this word former. Former means previous. President Ramnath Kovind. K.R. Narayan was the first Dalit president of India. Now, Dalit, this word also has a history. Some people, Gandhiji used to call the lower caste, but there is nothing low or high in the caste. But as we find in the text, the depressed classes, the lower caste is not a good term. So the depressed classes were called as Dalits by Mr. Ambedkar and Harijans by Mr. Gandhiji. Then we've seen the current Vice President, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar, and the Margaret Alva, opposition candidate. Then we've seen Indian presidential election. The first citizen of the country is Mr. President, Supreme Commander of Armed Forces, that includes the Army, Navy, and Air Forces. Then we've seen the first past the post system. This is very easy to understand. The next topic that we had to discuss was proportional representation, which we will continue in the next lecture. Proportional representation. Then we discuss the organs of the parliament, the the constituent parts of Lok Sabha, then the Rajya Sabha, and why Mr. President is the part of the parliament. This also we have discussed now. So the basic questions you should be able to answer after here listening to this lecture. Some very basic questions you would be able to answer, I'm sure of it. And we will continue our next topic from tomorrow's lecture. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can I know what is the next lecture? Hello. Excuse me, sir. Sir.
One second, the management team is coming. One second.
May I know the subject, please?
Okay, we will be continuing this lecture. There's a 3-minute break. I will come in just 3 minutes. We will continue with the topic.
Okay, sir.
Thank you everyone for waiting. Now let us continue with our lecture. The thing that I was going to explain was proportional representation. Proportional representation. Actually, in the Indian case, to generally discuss, this system is used when there are two or more than two seats to be filled. Two or more than two seats to be filled in the and there are more than one candidate. One, two, three. In this system, to get elected, there is a minimum number of votes that has to be cleared. There is a minimum number of votes that has to be cleared. So let us understand this. Suppose the minimum vote to get elected to this seat is 1,000, and this man gets 2,200. This one gets 300. This person gets 400. This person gets 500. This person gets 600. This person gets 700. Proportional representation with transferable vote system. This is also called as transferable vote system. Now, why I have written this, you will get to know in just a few seconds. Transferable vote system. In this, the minimum number of votes that you have to get elected is 1,000. So this man has not secured that many votes. No one has secured this many votes. So the election slips that they get is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they have to write the names. The voter have to write the name that I am voting for Mr. A, B, C, D, E, and F. So now no one has got 1,000 votes. So what we will do, the election commission will do. The one who has secured the least number of votes. In this case, Mr. A is eliminated, and he is eliminated. But he must have, suppose he was the first preference vote of 200 voters, right? So these 200 slips will not be thrown away. The number of second, third, and sub B, C, D, these will get transferred to these voters, and it will increase. This process of transferring of vote continues. The moment anyone gets 1,000 votes, he is declared elected by the process of transfer of votes. Any doubt regarding this? This system is used in the elections of Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha President, Vice President. Around a year, last month. Now let us also consider the next system, that is presidential office. President. President. The president is representative of the people and the states. He is a representative of the people and the states. So, in in the election of president, the people that vote are elected MLAs, elected MLAs, and elected MPs. As we have seen, in the legislature there are two types of members: elected members and nominated members. Elected members are, as we've seen, elected members are elected by the people or by MLAs. In the Rajya Sabha, the MPs are elected by the MLAs, and in the Lok Sabha, the representatives are elected by people with the first past the post system. So, for this system, we will see forward. For the president, we will proceed forward. Actually, previously there used to be 2 nominated members in the Lok Sabha, and Rajya Sabha has 12 nominated members. So the president also has the power. President nominates 12 members. Now there must be a question that must be arising in your mind is, why is such a differentiating behavior? Why does the president nominate and make people MPs? So this is to ensure representation of people, notable people that cannot stand in the elections. For example, a very famous example of Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin Tendulkar was a member of parliament. There are many people like this. President nominated 12 members from different fields. So in the Lok Sabha, the 2 nominated members were, this might be asked. In the Lok Sabha, there were 2 were, not now. The recent amendment has not included, not extended this provision. 2 nominated members,
Anglo-Indians.
Anglo-Indians. Anglo-Indians. Now, what does the Anglo-Indians mean? Any volunteer? Anyone? Anglo-Indians? No one knows? Anglo-Indians means the descendant of Europeans. As you can see, Indian system is not very uniform or very rigid. It has many types of structures to accommodate different types of people, different different views and organize. This is what a democracy is. So this we were discussing from the PYQs. Now let us properly start with our part, that is polity. Polity. If you talk with your friends or ex- your father or someone at your home, you start discussing politics. But politics is not politics. Can anyone say the difference between this? Polity or politics? Polity is our subject. Polity is our part in the syllabus. And politics, can anyone tell me the difference between these two forces, these two words? Okay, no one. Polity means study of institutions in the country, or how the administration of the country works. This is very different from politics. Politics means fulfilling your interest, fulfilling your interest by any means possible. You can adopt fair means or foul. If you adopt fair means without going to war, that is called as diplomacy. Another way of fulfilling your interest is war. So you must have heard the term this politics, class politics, office politics, etc., etc. Fulfilling your interest by any means necessary. In the current scenario, relating with the current affairs, what all you have to read about politics? You have to read not much about politics. Only the question that has been asked is who was the presidential candidate, who was the prime minister. This is all that have been asked. Nothing more than this. Politics, fulfilling your interest. Polity is a very wide term. It includes study of the constitution. Polity includes the study of the constitution, but polity in itself is not the study of the constitution. It includes study of the constitution. This is very important if you are preparing for CLAT. Otherwise, you're talking with someone or you're going in front of a respected person like a judge or someone like a respected lawyer, and he asked you, "What is polity?" What, and you're not able to differentiate between polity and politics, and you would likely say that it is the study of the constitution, but it is not the only. It is the study of constitution. It includes study of the constitution. Polity. Now, regarding polity, there are many types of polities. Let us try to understand. Indian polity is democratic. India is a democratic polity. India is a democratic polity. Now there can be theocratic state, theocratic state. In this kind of system, the power that the power of the state is organized by the clergy. For example, in medieval Europe, church used to enjoy very much power. Currently, Iran can be called as a type of theocratic state, but it has institutions and all. The current supreme leader of Iran is Ayatollah Khomeini. Before this, Mr. Hassan Rouhani was there. Democratic polity. Another type of polity is dictatorial regime. Dictatorial state. In this type of system, one man rules, one man exercises absolute power. There is no question to his power. For example, currently, North Korea. And one more interesting thing about all the dictatorial states is that these people contain words such as democratic, democratic North Korea, socialist republic North Korea. But to be a democratic state, there should be at least two contenders for power. If only one man is standing in the election, then absolutely he is only the one who is going to be the winner. This cannot be called as a democratic polity. And a very basic definition of democracy is by the people, for the people, and of the people. Democracy means a system of government that is elected by the people, elected for the people, and it is of the people. The first example of democracy in the world was any answers? Which was the first democracy in the world? The first democracy in the world. Can anyone tell me, please? The first democracy in the world. America. United States of America. Can anyone tell me which is the largest democracy in the world?
India.
India. That is absolutely right. India is the largest democracy in the world. Another type of polity that can be said is oligarchy. 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 In this type of system, this can be said about the Gulf countries because if the Sheikh is ruling, only his family members become prime minister, foreign minister, secretary of state, and whatnot. So oligarchy basically means the power is exercised by a limited group of people which are connected by kinship ties, that means by family or any other relation. Example, not example, I will directly write run by a limited number of people. run by a limited number of people. Aristocracy is also the word that can be used for this type of system. India is the largest democracy in the world. Okay, so I want you to research about which is the newest democracy in the world. This is the homework or newest democracy. Homework for today. Homework for 17/11/2023. Newest democracy. This is the homework. Now dictatorship you can also see in many countries that are now democracies. For example, our our neighbor Pakistan. Pakistan had bouts of dictatorial regimes in between, followed by civilian government. Here it was the civilian government was replaced by coup d'etat, coup by military leaders. Military dictatorship is also the term that could be used for our neighbor, that is Pakistan. Now next, we have discussed about polity, the type of states. And our next logical topic would be constitution. Constitution. So if you read the meaning of the word to word meaning of this word, it means something that you abide by. So constitution in the case of a country means something, there are some limitations to the government on the government that the government cannot exceed. Constitution sets those limits. Constitution is something that the people have decided on themselves. The people have decided that these are the things that are allowed and these are the things that should be prohibited. So constitution basically means fundamental law of the land. Fundamental law of the land. Now our thinking needs to be widened. Fundamental means, any volunteers to say me the meaning of this word? Can anyone tell me the meaning of this word? Fundamental. If you attended any lecture, any teacher must have told you to focus on the fundamentals or focus on the basics. Basics. So the constitution contains basic laws, basic philosophies. Actually, the laws contain and structures. Structures or organization of organization. Of various institutions. Very general fact, very general knowledge that everyone knows is that the president only has nominal power. The real power is exercised by the prime minister. To be precise, council of ministers headed by the prime minister. So prime minister is the head of the council of the ministers, and whichever decision the council of ministers take, that has been The decisions taken by Council of Ministers should be executed by the President, and all the business of the Government of India is carried in the name of the President. There was a recent controversy, not a controversy as such, but some colorful minds like to play around with the words that of the G20 invite, which carried the name President of Bharat Republic. So why not President? Why not the invite was given in the name of the Prime Minister? It could also have been in the name of the Vice President or any other functionary like IS officer, IPS officer. Why only in the name of the President? As I have already said, because all the business of the Government of India is carried on in the name of the President. Nothing can be done without his name. And if you read the Constitution, President has so much power if you read it. But all these powers are to be exercised on the all these powers are to be exercised on the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. So let us get a brief review of what all we have done, and after this we will move forward with the next faculty will come and continue the lecture. So afterwards I have given you a basic difference between polity and politics. Polity means study of institutions in the country or how the administration of the country works and who has how much power, what all is the how power is arranged, how the power is shared. And politics means fulfilling your interest by hook or by crook, that depends. Next is how the administration of the country works. Then we've discussed about India is a democratic polity. Then we have also discussed about different types of polities, theocratic polity. These words are very important. The words I'm using, please pay attention to the words because this will also help you in your English subject and logic and reading comprehension. Then we have discussed about oligarchic form of government, dictatorial state. United States of America is the oldest democracy with the oldest written constitution in the world.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Examples for theoretic state.
examples regarding
Theocratic state.
theocratic state. We can consider Iran to be a theocratic state because the supreme leader of Iran is a priest, not elected by, I think we can call it a somewhat kind of a theocratic state. It means religion, the people who are in power are those connected with religion. For example, father in the church. Got it? Got it, the concept? Next, oligarchy. Oligarchy is run by a limited number of people which are connected by kinship ties or family ties. Then we have discussed about a dictatorial state, for example, North Korea. All the dictatorial states always say that they are democratic, but the reality is not what it seems. Then we have the largest democracy of the world, that is India. Then I had given a homework for tomorrow.
Sir,
Which is
answer
sorry,
Bhutan, US democracy.
Bhutan. Okay, maybe let's hold it for tomorrow. Next, constitution. I have discussed what a constitution is. It is the fundamental law of the land. Basics,
Excuse me,
fundamental.
sir.
Yes,
Smallest democratic country.
Smallest, that we will have to check up upon, because many countries are island nations. They also have democracies. For the smallest example of democracy can be considered as a village. Or if you even go further, even a house can be considered democratic if the decisions are discussed and voted upon. Laws, philosophies, basic law of the land means basic laws, basic philosophies, basic structures or organization of various institutions. So tomorrow we will start with the preamble of the Constitution. Thank you everyone. Let us end here for today's lecture. The next faculty will come very soon.